Major League Baseball hasn't been immune to the financial perils that have affected stars from other sports leagues. Athletes who make seven figures during their careers can still end up one day declaring bankruptcy. So here are some former baseball stars who are surprisingly poor. Many baseball spectators may fail to shed a tear for Curt Schilling, and not just because he accumulated over $100 million in earnings from his MLB contracts. His greatness on the pitching mound cannot be denied, even by those who aren't fans of the teams he pitched for in the 90s and 2000s. The six-time All-Star was part of 3 championship squads, including in 2001 when he was named World Series MVP as a member of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Following Schilling's retirement, he became embroiled in multiple controversies. In 2012, he told Boston radio station WEEI that he lost more than $50 million on an investment in the failed video game company 38 Studios, which only ever released one game. He said at the time, "The money that I had earned and saved in baseball was all gone."
First came the courtship, then came the marriage, then came the bankruptcy, and now comes the auction.
And that was far from the end of Schilling's troubles. In 2016, ESPN fired him from his position as a broadcaster after he repeatedly shared offensive posts on social media. In the wake of that, he was eventually angling for a comeback. In an August 2019 article, Dan Adler of Vanity Fair speculated about the possibility of Schilling making an entrance into the world of politics. Adler noted, "He was trending on Twitter after the news of his supposed run broke, and it's easy to see this as an effort to drum up publicity for some new phase of his career, especially given that video game misadventure." Livan Hernandez pitched in the major leagues from 1996 through 2012. In the fall of 1997, he proved to be an invaluable piece of the world champion Florida Marlins when he won both NLCS and World Series MVP honors. The two-time All-Star never again earned a ring, but he appeared in over 500 games across 17 years. Baseball Reference estimates that he earned over $53 million from his MLB contracts. But somehow, it all went away. In July 2017, the Miami Herald confirmed the existence of court papers that showed Hernandez had filed for bankruptcy. He reportedly owed up to $1 million to up to 50 creditors, such as multiple credit card companies. He also owed money in back taxes and over $200,000 to a local businessman who had lent him money. In 2018, a federal judge ultimately rejected Hernandez's bankruptcy claim after the pitcher failed to properly submit the necessary paperwork. Around that same time, Hernandez reportedly claimed that he had no checking account or bank account, that the car he drove was borrowed from a friend, and that he made a living as a pitching tutor via an all-cash business. Pete Rose is unquestionably one of the most controversial figures in MLB history. He holds the record for most career hits, but he's perhaps better known now for accepting a lifetime ban from the sport in August 1989 after he was accused of gambling on baseball while he was manager of the Cincinnati Reds. He denied wagering on games for over a decade before he came clean in 2004. In 2007, Rose told ESPN's Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann that he bet on his team every night as a manager. As of March 2020, he remained ineligible for the Hall of Fame. And while buying your way into the Hall isn't an option, it doesn't look like Rose would have the means to bribe his way in anyway. Rose first found himself in serious financial trouble in 1990 when he was sentenced to 5 months in prison for federal income tax evasion. 18 years later, TMZ reported on divorce documents filed by his estranged wife. Rose was earning roughly $1.2 million per year at the time, but was also blowing most of his cash on high-stakes gambling, and he also had significant debts with casinos and the IRS. Court documents obtained by TMZ in September 2018 claimed that Rose was dealing with great debts, significant health setbacks, and growing attorney's fees.
Do you think you ever get your day at the Hall of Fame?
No!
From 1985 to 1998, Cecil Fielder was a feared home run hitter who crushed a total of 319 bombs during his MLB career. Younger fans may recognize his last name since he's the father of Prince Fielder, who played in the big leagues himself from 2005 to 2016. Weirdly enough, Prince also hit exactly 319 career home runs, making them the first father-son duo to both belt at least 300 career homers. In 2004, the Detroit News published a damning report on Cecil's post-baseball life, as he had lost much, if not all, of his fortune largely due to gambling. He reportedly owed nearly $2 million in debts at the time that the story went public. Cecil's gambling addiction eventually led Stacey August, his ex-wife and Prince's mother, to open a credit union for providing financial management resources to athletes and their families. While Cecil's actions caused understandable issues between him and Prince, the two eventually reconciled. Scott Air was never the most dominant relief pitcher around, but he was good enough to remain in the big leagues from 1997 through 2009. He made over 600 career appearances and was part of the Philadelphia Phillies team that won the 2008 World Series. Just a few months after celebrating that title, Air found himself desperately in need of cash. In February 2009, it was reported that Air was a victim of the Ponzi scheme allegedly perpetrated by the Stanford Financial Group. The SEC froze all of Air's assets at that time except for one bank account that had $3,000 in it. As Air told MLB.com at the time, "I'm broke right now. I have no money. I have $13 in my wallet." Fortunately for Air, the Phillies offered him an advance on his 2009 salary to help, but that was his last season to recover money lost as a pro athlete, as he retired in 2010. After he called timeout on his playing days, he went into coaching. Younger baseball fans might know Lenny Dykstra more for his post-career exploits than for anything that he achieved on baseball diamonds. From 1985 through 1996, the center fielder was a three-time All-Star and a member of the 1986 World Champion New York Mets. After retiring, he would go on to become a successful self-taught investor, but the public eventually learned that his successes weren't exactly on the level. In March 2009, GQ published a piece that accused Dykstra of credit card fraud and bouncing checks, among other things. That summer, he filed for bankruptcy. In 2012, Dykstra earned 2 different prison sentences. He received 3 years behind bars following a no-contest plea to grand theft auto charges, and he was given 6.5 months in federal custody after he pled guilty to bankruptcy fraud, concealment of assets, and money laundering. And then he failed to avoid trouble after his release from prison, as he was indicted on multiple charges in 2018 regarding an incident with an Uber driver. While he was cleared in March 2019, he told NJ.com that the case cost him millions of dollars because of a canceled deal with Amazon that included a reality TV show.
The United States of America versus Lenny Dykstra. I said, really? I mean, like, the whole country, the most powerful country in the world
against Lenny Dykstra.
Rollie Fingers is widely remembered for having the most famous facial hair in MLB history, but he was much more than just a man with a tremendous mustache.
Fingers grew his famous mustache back in 1972 for a whopping $300 the team owner promised him if he wore it on opening day.
One of the most accomplished pitchers of the 70s and 80s, Fingers was a 7-time All-Star who won 3 World Series rings, a World Series MVP trophy, a Cy Young Award, and an MVP title. He was named the league's top relief pitcher on 4 occasions, and he was also the first player to ever record 300 career saves. Despite all those accomplishments, Fingers was somewhat broke by Christmas 1989, the year he was forced to file for bankruptcy. The expensive activities that got him into that mess included investing in fixing and selling old houses, spending 6 figures on Egyptian Arabian horses, and losing cash on wind turbines. At the time, his wife estimated that he'd lost well over $4 million. He was even forced to play in an MLB senior league because he needed the money. Then, in the summer of 2007, Fingers had to resolve a matter in which he owed over $1 million in income taxes. Jack Clark, affectionately known as Jack the Ripper, made 4 All-Star squads, earned a pair of Silver Slugger awards, and smashed 340 home runs over the course of his MLB career. While never a legitimate Hall of Fame candidate, his stint in professional baseball lasted from 1975 through 1992, so he should have been financially set for life. But it turns out that Clark also had a taste for expensive living. Specifically, he had an affinity for luxury sports cars, 18 of them to be exact. He also owned a California home worth over $2 million when he filed for bankruptcy in 1992. At that time, he owed over $400,000 in back income taxes and had massive amounts of credit card debt. While he eventually got back on his feet, he and his wife filed for bankruptcy protection in 2018. They owed over $550,000 while earning a combined $120,000 per year at the time. Clark also got himself into some potential legal trouble in the summer of 2013 when he lost a gig with St. Louis radio station WGNU after he accused former St. Louis Cardinal slugger Albert Pujols of using performance-enhancing drugs. Pujols threatened a lawsuit but dropped the matter after Clark issued a public retraction. In 2020, a major league pitcher openly admitting to cheating throughout his career wouldn't be well received by most die-hard baseball supporters. But that's exactly what Hall of Famer Gaylord Perry did with his 1974 autobiography, Me and the Spitter. Times were different during his 1962 to 1983 career. About 3 years after Perry last pitched in an MLB game, he and his wife Blanche filed for bankruptcy. Farming setbacks led to the couple owing over $1 million in debts. While Perry lost his farm, he was willing to admit defeat when he spoke to the New York Times in 1989, as he admitted, "There was no future in it. I decided to leave it before they took it away from me." In 1987, Blanche lost her life in an automobile accident in Florida. No criminal charges were filed, but the Perry family eventually settled a civil suit, with the family reportedly receiving $1 million. Those who listened to the New York sports talk radio station WFAN in the 2000s and 2010s likely heard multiple callers suggest that Wally Backman deserved an opportunity to manage the New York Mets. He was never an all-star when he played with that team, but his batting average was .320 during the 1986 season, the year that the Mets beat the Red Sox in the World Series. Backman played in the MLB from 1980 through 1993, and he began the 2000s with a promising coaching career in front of him. The Arizona Diamondbacks hired him as the manager following the 2004 season, but he was promptly fired just 4 days after he was introduced to reporters. It turned out that after Backman put pen to paper on his contract, the Diamondbacks discovered that he had previously been arrested twice and had also declared bankruptcy. When he filed for bankruptcy in 2003, he owed money to more than 20 creditors and the IRS. He claimed that his ex-wife had managed his finances over the years and was responsible for his financial downfall. In August 2019, Backman was arrested on domestic violence charges, and that was at least the third time a partner accused him of physical abuse. In January 2020, he was cleared of those charges. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more grunge videos about your favorite sports are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.